Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting of Fernie City Council held at 6:30 p.m. on February 20th, 2024. Ki Suk Yukit. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the city of Fernie is located within Kukanamakis, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleat. We recognize that we live and work in their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleat and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda, that the agenda for the February 20th Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. I will now need to ask for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the December 19th, 2023 and the January 16th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meetings to be adopted, please. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. I'll now invite the public in attendance or participating online who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure of the council procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the issuance of the permit, and a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And I think everyone in the gallery is here for one purpose, so I'll look to staff. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
I can confirm there's no one online right now, Your Worship, and there is our host is working to get the people promoted to the meeting. So
thank you. Thank you, Mr. McConnell. Is everybody now promoted? Good. Thank you. Moves us on to item 6.1, a delegation presentation by École Sophie Morgeau. Welcome. And you have 10 minutes.
Council, my name is Masha.
My name is Elliot.
And Marie-Christine.
We are here today to represent the users of the Max Turk building located in the airport, and specifically Sophie Morgeau School. Sophie Morgeau School students and the parents community have identified 2 intersections near the school as dangerous and are compromising the safety of individuals in the neighborhood and the users commuting to Max Turk. There are currently pedestrian corridors, however, they are not connected with a safe road crossing.
Many people drive children to school and preschool. There is increased traffic in these corridors before and after school hours, increasing the risk to pedestrians. Our concerns are the pedestrians corridor is not connected with crosswalks. It's missing stop signs. There is no school zone and speed post sign in community. Vehicles are driving too fast at these intersections and even fail to stop for people walking or biking. We must engage on the street to look at upcoming traffic because the streets are curved and homeowners, vehicles, and trailers parked on the road. We product a short video highlighting the concerns if possible to view.
Your Worship, I should share that there is no audio, no speaking in this video. You will hear car noises occasionally, but it's fairly quiet. So if council doesn't hear anything, there's no speaking you're missing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done.
We believe that installing safe crossing in a form of crosswalks, stop signs, and school zone signs at these two intersections would be great solutions to concerns. And now you may ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll turn to council. Any questions for this group? Seeing none. Sorry. Youth Councillor Hannes, please go ahead.
Not so much as a question, just as a comment. I thought it was amazing that you guys also came with a solution. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Oh, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Thank you. But also I wanted to, being familiar with the neighborhood, it was a great reminder there is pedestrian infrastructure. So there are pathways constructed through the neighborhood, but they don't connect in any sort of active transportation network down there. So it does present a potential hazard for sure. I can see now that I've seen your video and looked closely at the map and being familiar with the neighborhood, it was very enlightening for me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And we also believe that adding some sign would work, obviously with the winter condition, like crosswalk alone would potentially work, but.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you for making the effort and the effort for the video. There are a couple of drivers in there that were repeat offenders.
Familiar. Well, thanks for having us.
Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll just ask Mr. McConnell, what's the next step with a request like this?
If council wishes to action, I would suggest again that the notice of motion scenario would be the place to do that. All of staff are familiar with this request and have reviewed it, but it's something that, and Mr. Woronowski can certainly speak to this further. It's currently not on an action plan or a job plan necessarily, and so it would impact that work as well if it was to be actioned.
Thank you. But it looks like we have some willing volunteers. I know that's not as easy as it sounds. Well, thank you very much again for your presentation. And I will say we can release you now. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. You're welcome to go. And we very much appreciate your effort coming out this evening.
Welcome to stay too.
You're also welcome to stay if you like. Yeah.
It's super fun.
Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. Just a quick procedural question. Because this particular item is in correspondence and in our agenda, does it have to go through the notice of motion and then motion process and so on? Cannot a motion come out of correspondence and go directly into the next regular meeting?
I would think so, Mr. McConnell.
It probably could, except for the formulation of the motion would be important, ensuring that it meets, sort of clearly the direction you're seeking with respect to that. And as well, I would think that any motion that comes out of this particular action would be one that staff would ask that to be sent back to staff prior to being adopted.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that item? Seeing none, we will move on to item 7.1, report from project engineer line on waste collection service level impacts. Glamorous as ever.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I haven't been here for a few months, so I have to remember how to share my screen. And you can also see my notes there because that's what I do. There we go. All right. I'm here today to get your opinion on a few items related to our curbside organics collection program rollout. Last time I was here, I talked about our next steps in our rollout strategy, and these are them again. So I can give you a few updates on where we're at.
Mr. McDonald.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt, but it's just that the program is creating these bars across the top, which is actually the screen share tools. I was just wondering if maybe Ms. Line would like to drag and drop those towards the bottom at least, so they're not blocking off all of our.
Got rid of one. I don't know.
Yeah, that's. I just don't want the visual to be lost.
Thanks.
So thank you for
I was
that.
just researching why they're happening. Stop
Chair. Well,
Let's try turning that off
well played.
and then picking that application.
It's fixed and we're back.
Well done.
Oh, it was, CAO.
Team effort.
All right, so this was my to-do list when I left here in November, and I'm back with some updates to begin with. So first was the 2 items related to the bin purchase that were discussed at the November council meeting. Staff were directed to search for additional grants to lessen the cost of bear-resistant bins and procure said bins, along with the kitchen catchers. So I did reach out to several provincial and federal funding agencies, including the original OICP grant, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Environment and Climate Change Canada. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a suitable grant opportunity that was open at this time for such a purchase. So I was unable to find additional grants. But that did mean I could action the purchase of the carts. So we've purchased the 120-liter bear-resistant curbside carts and the 2-gallon kitchen catcher bins by Ray Rig within the budget approved at the November meeting. The purchase order is out, and GFL, our collector, is expecting the delivery of said carts by mid-April. And then secondly, working with our communications department, we've been drafting many of the planned items to be included in the communication package. However, I'm here today to get clarity on several items that are essential components of the program, so we aren't sending mixed messages to the community. And those 3 items are garbage collection frequency, collection contract extension, and multifamily unit participation. So I was thinking to do this collaboratively, I would talk about the first 2 items and then we could pause to discuss and then go on to the 3rd item. Whatever works for you guys, but that's my plan. So garbage collection frequency. The city's 2018 collection contract included the ability to provide organics collection and provided a suggested collection schedule that reduced garbage collection to bi-weekly, as for most users, there will be sufficient garbage bin space. The move to bi-weekly garbage collection will increase the diversion of organics and recycling, and it will divert the most amount of organics waste from the landfill. In other communities where that shift has occurred, much of the opposition stems from simple resistance to innovation. When someone's been doing something for so long, when you've been taking your garbage to the curb every week, then you start bringing in change, it's hard. It's hard for people to accommodate that. And we know that's going to be a major part of our communication strategy if that's the way we go. will be this shift to the biweekly pickup. The city can maintain weekly pickup of garbage along with organics. If we do that, the schedule for pickup would move from a static schedule to what's called a rolling collection schedule. Cranbrook does this type of schedule, and you can see on the screen an example of that. When there's a stat holiday, everything just ships forward a day. Staff would not need to go to market for this extension of service. It can be accommodated in our current contract. The increased level of service does come with an associated cost or less really of a reduction. And so speaking of costs here, I provided 2024 monthly costs for comparison purposes. However, staff are not planning on raising our rates in this year. And that's because last year, just around this time, we raised our rates for the Recycle BC transition. And that was pretty difficult for our finance staff and our frontline staff. So we will be recouping these costs starting in 2025. But for comparison purpose and discussion, I put in the 2024 rates here so we'd understand what the impact would be to our users. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, right now we have weekly garbage and biweekly recycling for $13.58 per household per month. If we add in weekly organics and move to biweekly garbage, then it goes up by $2.89 per month. If we keep weekly garbage, it's an increase of $7.16. And then I'll jump to the next guy, which is the collection contract extension. During discussions of our organics collection pricing, our contractor GFL offered a discount on 2024 fees should staff act on the 1-year contract extension clause that exists in our contract. There's not much savings, but there's a little. So organics, we could save $225 per household per year, 2024. Garbage, if we go to bi-weekly collection, would save that same amount per household. They didn't offer a discount if we kept weekly garbage, and they offered no discount for recycling. But that does roll up to a little more savings for our users. Staff do plan to go forward with this extension of the contract. There's been a lot of change to our users in the past couple years with the recycling transition last year and organics this year. It would be nice for users to have 2 years of constant collection, which is what this would provide, as our contract currently ends end of April next year. And then it would end of April 2026. So with that, I'd like to pause for discussions on these 2 items.
Councilor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I have one question, and I apologize because this might be remedial waste management question. But I'm just curious why we don't have the option to do bi-weekly garbage and bi-weekly organics. Just thinking about at home and how, now granted my sample set is 1, so that's pretty small. But going through how we're going through garbage, I would say we're generating maybe a little bit more organics and regular waste, composting and stuff at home, but not so much that it would, like, it's not so much that I need to go to the landfill or anything as often. So, and the reason I'm asking the question is if we are able to do bi-weekly, we could just alternate. And then people are still have the same day of the week that they're putting out on, just something else is being picked up on that particular day. Was that considered or no?
If I may, it wasn't considered for the onset of the project, just because we're not sure how well people are going to use the carts. However, other communities, especially in the winter, do transition from weekly organics to bi-weekly organics because they don't see as much going into those carts. So it is something we have considered, but not for the beginning of the project. And especially with the wildlife concerns in town, we don't want to leave organics in the cart longer than we need to, which is why weekly pickup for summer months or warm months when animals roam is usually a better idea.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? I'm curious, Ms. Line, if I may, about the animal resistant carts versus the bear resistant carts. And and I apologize because I didn't go back to the minutes, but I, of course, what budget did you get them in at, so to speak? Like you said, in the approved budget. So what did those carts cost us in the end? Because there was a considerable difference.
If I may, it was the approved budget from the November 12th or something meeting.
Yeah.
They were more expensive for sure than the animal resistant cards. I want to say, don't quote me, but I believe the entire order is something around $600,000 for
yeah.
the 2,200 carts and kitchen catchers.
Okay, thank you. Because yeah, that's consistent with the previous report from the fall.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
If there is no more discussion on these points, I do want to understand from council the option of maintaining the bi-weekly garbage collection versus weekly, like maintaining the plan. And I haven't got a sense from council.
Sorry. Yeah, fair enough. Councillor Hamilton, then Councillor Audie Kelly, and then Councillor Nixon.
Thank you. I'm looking at the current slide that's up there and having read through the report, I would say that my sentiment is leaning towards the weekly organics and the bi-weekly garbage and bi-weekly recycling with the extension.
Councillor Audie Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Engineer line, it would still be the one truck, right? So we couldn't like do 2 carts. We'd have to go with just one kind of thing. Okay.
If I may, that's correct. Yeah.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Just curious about, is like it says in here about the transitioning garbage collection, is there a chance to stagger the two and just see, like at the very beginning, to have some weekly garbage just for maybe a month, and then also have weekly, just to enforce that that people are using both at the same time? Is there, like it says in here, sorry, I'm can't see that now. My eyesight is diminishing very rapidly. I just, in the staff report, it recommends eliminating weekly garbage pickup in order to speed up the adoption of the organics program and see the value in the new bins, right? It also mentions that we need to look at transitioning the garbage collection. And what time frame are we looking at for transitioning? Like a month or 2 months, or is it just right away? Is it going to be cold turkey?
If I may, the plan was cold turkey, and that has to do with a few things. One, adoption, but also we're putting together the collection schedule that we're going to send out for all the users. So that would be a little more difficult to communicate. The first month, you're still going to have your weekly garbage, but we're going to put in organics, and then the second month. So just to make it like easier for people to comprehend, because there'd be less change, is one big change.
Further?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Councillor Hamilton's recommendations of weekly organics and then bi-weekly garbage and recycling with the extension.
Yeah, if there's no other, I tend to support same. What I don't like the idea of the sort of sliding schedule with a stat, and so the week changes. Like already on alternating recycling weeks, there's 1 or 2 lonely cans out on the street that people have got their week wrong, and it just seems like way too many variables in that change versus just alternating weeks on the same day. Does that make sense, Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you. Yeah, that was the other comment that I forgot to add, is keeping the days set, because even I know myself, I look out the window and look one way and see garbage bin, or see the recycling bin, look the other way, don't, and then have to go and find the calendar.
I know. I
do the math myself.
And when I say the lonely bin, it's occasionally been mine, right? Because I'm like, oh, wrong week. So, Councillor Audie Kelly.
I agree, Your Worship. I think you're 100% right. I think that'll be confusing for people.
I think so.
If I may, Cranbrook does it. We could do it too if we wanted to. I like that there's an option, but I'm completely fine with the static schedule.
Well, as you've already pointed out, it's a lot of change for our users over the last year and a bit. So let's not introduce another complex change until we see the need or opportunity, in my mind.
All right, thank you for your opinions, and we'll continue on to our third item, multi-family unit participation. Oh. The participants of this program are the residents of single family and up to 4-plex multifamily residents who already are within the curbside program. We are improving their collection service by incorporating organics. Residents who live in multifamily complexes such as apartments or condos currently cannot access this program. And I did some very rough math. According to the 2021 census, that's approximately 1/5 of the households in the town. The Regional District of East Kootenay are the ones who oversee the Fernie transfer station, and they are building the organics processing facility. And this year they are focused on building and setting up and running that processing facility. So right now they also do not have plans for the collection aspect. They just want to get that facility up and running, and they're eagerly looking for Fernie's contributions. Director Logan provided a background on our community dumpster program in the town in this report and the issues facing it, as what we envision is if people are seeing that they have too much garbage because the move to bi-weekly and maybe not using the organics card as much as they could, that's where a lot of the trash may go. We know there is issues facing it. However, he's here tonight for any questions about the community dumpster program. So what I want to say basically is that staff did look into options for apartments or condo dwellers to see how we could incorporate them. And unfortunately, it's very costly. If we wanted to add in new organic dumpsters around town, much like my November presentation where we looked into community bins, it's about the same cost of about $73,000 per year to provide a couple bins and get them service. And the reason it's so much is that it's a completely new service for GFL. They're going to bring a truck from Cranbrook for only these bins. No one else is doing this. They can't incorporate any other services, and bringing it to the organics processing facility, and then it goes home. So we can't share the cost with anyone because no one else is doing this. So it is quite costly for that venture. And based on that cost, staff are not recommending to provide service for apartments or condo dwellers at this time. Speaking with the Regional District of East Kootenay, they are looking into collection starting next year, but their focus this year is getting that facility up and running.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Part of my ignorance, but what do the condo dwellers and apartment buildings currently do for their regular household garbage and recycling? Is that something that's organized by their strata or their apartment manager?
If I may, that's right. The city organizes the curbside, but the condos and apartments are done privately.
Councillor Hamilton.
And as a follow-up, then I think you just answered the question in your previous comment, but would it be possible though for a condo or an apartment to organize their own organics collection? And but it would likely be that 70,000 or whatever truck coming from Cranbrook doing the one-off. Would that be correct?
If I may, it may be something like that. Talking with the Regional District of East Kootenay, they did say that they may allow people to drop off waste at the facility, which is located in Sparwood. They haven't set that up yet, so it's not a confirmed thing, but it is an option. But right now they are just focused on getting that up and running. So private collectors would have to contact the regional district directly to see if that is an option.
Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, I just think that, thank you, Your Worship. Sorry. I just think we need to wait for the RDE to establish a program. That's all. And if people are inclined to separate their recycling and all the rest of it, I know that, but my condo that I have, it's people just take everything and throw it in the bin. So, because that's the easiest thing they're going to do, as they do, as like I've shown around town as well in the last week. So, yeah, I think we just need to wait.
And do we have a sense of what that'll look like? Because as I understand it, there's there's some complications with a drive-by compost drop-off or organics drop-off. What was the phrase I heard earlier today? Vector control. Which sounds very science fiction-y, but I think it means keeping animals out on the whole.
If I may, when I was talking to the regional district, that they were talking about vector management, which I took to believe animal control. And so at the transfer station, there's already a bin for leaf litter and like wood waste. And so I asked, oh, couldn't we just use that for organics? But it's out in the open. There is that place where you can put the trash in, and that's in a building, right? So the doors shut, and that's vector management. But for those other bins, there isn't that, and there's no what they prefer. And what I think they prefer is like an electric fence or an enclosed facility. They don't have that, or the space to quickly put one of those in for organics at this time. So I am unsure. They do talk about wanting to provide collection, but again, their focus is on that, building that facility, getting it running. And that's enough for them this year.
Which is fair, but it behooves us to keep on them for the follow-up, as Councillor Nixon points out, to get them to put something in place for 1/5 of our community. Thank you. Other questions? Carry on.
Thank you. So those were the three directions that I wanted. Thank you very much for those. Next up for me, I will be back on the March 12th meeting to talk bylaws. Very exciting updates to the waste regulation and MTI bylaws to support this transition period. So thank you all, and that's it for me. Unless there's questions, pardon me.
Well, I'm just curious about the new bins. Like how are they different from our waste bins with the gravity lock?
So if I may, they look very similar. They're still 120 liters, just like our waste bins, but the top is way more robust, and it actually has like a bear with like claws on it. So you're like, oh, okay. So embossed in the plastic. The latch, instead, our latch on our gravity bin is this big circle hand thing, and the bear can slip its claws underneath. Thank you for that look. And with these new bins, the latch is actually, it's located under the lid on the cart body itself, and it's much more fine motor skills to operate it. It still is a gravity latch, so when it's flipped upside down by the collector, everything comes out. But yeah, it has a much more robust top. It's a stronger plastic, and it has this fine motor latch.
Thank you.
And it's green.
Mr. McConnell?
Just want to make sure whether or not Ms. Line wanted to ensure that we got a recommendation approved at this committee for the first one at very least, which was the collection schedule. Are you looking for a resolution with respect to that?
If I may, I don't believe I'm looking for a resolution because this is committee of the whole, but please instruct me.
You had written in like that the committee of the whole directs staff to maintain existing waste. So if you would like that formalized as your direction, we can take that as a resolution from committee.
Yes,
to bring back.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Worship. If you would like me to read that recommendation, I could do.
Before you do, Mr. Logan has a comment. He was putting up his hand. I thought he was stretching initially, but he was.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind council that they did ask me to bring back more information about the community bins, and Ms. Line was nice enough to allow me to steal a portion of her report to bring that information to you. So I was hoping there was going to be some questions. Provided a little bit of information, just essentially to explain the situation of where we are right now. In my opinion, we're enabling the public to not use the services that they already pay for through the landfill and the curbside collection. So just bringing it to council's attention that through this going to bi-weekly, it will probably compound the issue of contractors, the public in general, visitors, overwhelming these dumpsters even more than they are at the moment. So we do have 4 of these dumpsters. We dump them every 2 weeks. They cost the city $18,000 on top of what we're already paying for curbside select collection and the landfill that's just down the road. So.
Councillor Shoesmith.
Through Mayor Milligan staff. So we have 4 of these dumpsters and they're routinely overwhelmed. Given that it's probably one truck coming to pick up all 4, what's the capacity on one of those trucks? I mean, could we increase our capacity number of dumpsters and still fit within a one trip type of deal with the truck?
Your worship, through to Councillor Shoesmith. So it's done by the tipping fee. So they come pick up the unit and they dump it and it costs X amount of dollars. So the more bins, the more dumps, the more cost. So it's not the amount of room in the truck, it's more the amount of bins and how often they're tipped. So could definitely increase that service level. However, I don't feel like it's an official level of service. I think it's something that's maybe been overlooked and just has created a bit of a problem for staff and cleanliness around facilities, et cetera. That's why I'm just bringing a little more information for council's consideration.
Thank you.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, worship. So by having these bins of convenience, are we actually contravening our own consolidated waste regulation bylaw in that they're not secured, they're not monitored, and they're not bear resistant?
Mr. Baranowski.
Thank you. The bins themselves are bear resistant. They have the bear latch handles. The recycle bins only have the small window. However, the use, they do become overwhelmed. And typically when they become significantly overwhelmed, what we find is commercial waste next to them. You know, we'll find a large bundle of packages or boxes related to, say, printer toner or, you know, someone who's been cleaning multiple rooms or multiple bed and breakfasts and uses those public bins. I also wanted to add that while Mr. Logan is right, he has brought this information forward. We did flag this and other service areas as maybe higher priorities for service level reviews, because we do have to determine with the community and with council if it's a desired service moving forward, or now that there is the transfer station, are we supporting the use of that transfer station by offering this alternative, which has the unintended consequence of being overwhelmed? Is it a matter of capacity or is it a matter of convenience? So.
Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, worship. Am I correct in my understanding that the primary motivation for having the extra bins about town was to allow for those people who were in some sort of situation whereby they wouldn't be easily able to put their bin out on a regular day? And so this gave them an alternative to leaving their garbage bin at the curb for 3 days in contravention of our actual bylaw. That's accurate?
Through your worship, that's my understanding. However, it was difficult to find some specific direction and information on this. Not to say it doesn't exist, but yes, we have actually downsized from, I think, 6 to 4. We've increased the frequency of the 4. Yes, it was intended for those who have second homes and were unable to make the curbside collection day and give them a spot to drop their garbage off as they go.
Follow up, your worship?
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was my understanding as well. That's my recollection of this discussion before. I think the challenge that I have with it is that the bins are not actually located out in the neighborhoods where this is likely to happen, but are in fact at the arena and behind City Hall and so on. And I'm just wondering if actually part of what we have is a bit of a location problem by putting bins prominently in front of the community center, something which I know has been raised at this table multiple times about why that they sit out there, since it's a bit of an eyesore. It is an invitation for anyone driving by to drop their garbage off, and thereby increasing the amount of garbage that's going in there, not actually solving the problem, because it's not people who are about to leave town dropping off their garbage there. So I guess my long way around here to get to this is it that we don't have enough bins, or is it that they're just actually located in the wrong place and not serving the people that they were intended to serve? I don't know if that's rhetorical or not.
If I may, over 10 years ago, there was an attempt at a trial to do community bins up in the community of Alpine Trails. And it did not go forward because there was disagreement on where those community bins should be placed. Nobody wanted them in their backyard, NIMBYism. And so the trial failed. And so that may be why the bins were placed as they were on city properties in less residential neighborhoods. I don't have a background for that, but that based on the history of community bins.
Just based on that discussion, Your Worship, my inclination is to say we should really consider getting rid of them. I think the excess cost is not actually serving the intention that it was originally put out there. The fact that they are overrun regularly means that we're going to continue to have the bear problem, regardless of how bear resistant the curbside machine, bins are and so on. And it's an invitation to people to drop off garbage instead of just continuing further down the road another 5 minutes and dropping it at the landfill station. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schussman.
Not to waste time, but I feel I should weigh in here. I'll speak up for a lot of the blue collar sort of guys, such as myself. I actually would be an example of a user of those bins, as my work often has me leaving my house quite a long time before pickup and coming home quite a long time after the dump is closed, sometimes for weeks on end. For a guy like me, those bins are the only option, aside from leaving my garbage bin out multiple hours before pickup. And I'm not alone in that crowd. I think a lot of people in apartments also wind up using them, so such. The fact that they're overwhelmed, I mean, might speak to their placement or to capacity or something, but or misuse, as you mentioned, the commercial stuff. But I would say that there is a cohort of people that intermittently just simply can't get their garbage on the curb at the right time. And we'll be facing those people with pretty steep fines for something that's more or less completely out of their control. And those bins kind of mitigate that.
Appreciate that perspective. Councillor Nixon.
Well, in light of that, thank you, Worship. You know, I do understand that. And I think that if, you know, like I think these things, I've seen them here for the last 10 years hanging around the community and always being, you know, crows flying at them and bears falling into them, and our, you know, our CO having to shoot bears and stuff like that inside of these bins. I think people need to take responsibility for their garbage and the recycling. And I think they need to drive the 5 minutes to the recycling center and the waste transfer center and on the highway and do the right thing. And, you know, it's not always going to be convenient. And it might be hard for some people, but I think this is the right thing to do.
So, Councillor Audrey Kelly, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Sorry, Engineer Line, to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to recall what time of the day the bylaw allows you to put your bin out.
If I may, I believe it's 5 a.m.
Okay, I thought so. And the transfer station is for the most part open other than holidays every day of the week? Okay, thank you.
And sorry, Mayor, Mr. Baranowski, this is part of the service review already. This is part of the analysis that's underway.
It is not presently underway. It's identified as a service area that will need a review because it is a service area that is problematic. It's a significant, A, it's unsightly, and B, it's a wildlife attractant, and it's obviously being misused, so it needs to be addressed. But I think as has been previously discussed to some extent, the outdoor rink and outdoor rink service area will be the priority service area to review, and essentially provided council strategic plan and this work goes forward as proposed, would be the first one that we undertake a review of, because we need to make some pretty prompt capital decisions around that.
Thank you. Ms. Line.
If I may come back to the recommendation from council, just to finish that off.
Please, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, and primarily it's the first recommendation. The second one, I don't think there's been consensus built on that. But the first one, is to confirm the consensus, is that the committee of the whole directs staff to maintain existing waste collection agreement plan to transition curbside garbage collection from weekly to bi-weekly when curbside organics collection begins.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton. Seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Line. I do wonder though, the next step as to the community bins, like what is our intention there collectively here? We've had a couple of calls to get rid of them altogether, a couple of calls to potentially relocate them. Are you seeking direction on those, Mr. Boranowski?
I would like to bring the opportunity to bring something a little more fully scoped. You have the information that you'd requested back from Mr. Logan as a foundation, but I'd like to bring something back a little more fully scoped before asking you to make a decision about the service area without something discrete, like unique and discrete about it.
I'd appreciate that.
Thank
you. Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just one follow-up question. The 5 a.m., was that because of animal attractant? Like, if we were to make it 4 a.m., would that help people such as Councillor Shoesmith was mentioning?
If I may,
Please.
that's a very good question. I'm not really sure why that time was set. I can research other pickup times as part of the updates for the curbside collection and see.
Yeah, that's probably a fair supposition, is that it was decision made to allow particularly shift workers who are leaving very early prior to the start of the shift to put their waste out prior to going to work. 4 a.m. creates another hour, creates another potential hour for conflict, vis-a-vis nocturnal bears roaming the neighborhood.
Collection only begins around 7 a.m. with the truck, so there's that 2-hour window, and it might increase to a 3. I will, as part of these updates, I'll look into other people who have bear communities, what they do.
Thank you, Ms. Line. Councillor Ravenous.
Sorry, Your Worship, I don't think it was unanimous. I didn't vote for this. Like, I didn't support this in November, and here also just.
Did you vote?
No.
When I asked you, anybody opposed, did you vote?
I don't think I recall anybody asking anybody was opposed.
I did, actually.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. Let's pay attention to the procedure, because if you don't vote, it's a vote in favor.
I understand that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But it was
So
not clear
if
to
I
me.
may, Your Worship, I'd like to record that properly then. Is it now 6-1? Is that correct?
I believe so, unless, can we call the vote again?
Certainly, I'd like to see what people would like to indicate for their votes. That would be great.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Opposed?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, for allowing that. And thank you, Councillor Ramadas, for confirming.
Thank you, Ms. Line. I think that's it.
Thank you for the conversation.
And now we have a update report from the planning department. Is there a presentation associated with this? It's just essentially a report
It's for information, but Mr. Lennox is present if council has questions with respect to that report.
Any questions for Mr. Lennox? Director Lennox, sorry. Seeing none, we shall call the meeting adjourned at 7:20 p.m. Thank you.